Coming up on This Week Next Week. With Rose Hill delayed 2 days, we'll chat to Joe Pride about his stable start, Ceolwulf's road to the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. But the Pride stable is far from a one-horse team, with an enviable complement of gallopers in stakes grade aiming at other carnival goals.
Hello, I'm Ray Thomas and welcome to This Week Next Week. Bit of a different show today, of course, because of the postponement of Rose Hill last Saturday to tomorrow. Corey Brown with me. Corey, I felt for the officials on Saturday morning because it was raining. The track was already deep into the heavy range by 8:30. The forecast was horrendous. It was one of those situations, they were damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they didn't call them off, everyone gets to Rose Hill and that forecast rain comes. We go home by race 1 or race 2. As it turned out, the rain probably was nowhere near what was forecast.
Probably not as bad as what they first thought, Ray, but like you said, they're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they had to run 1 or 2 races and then call them off, it would have been, schmozzle. So at the end of the day, I think it was the right call. So go around on Tuesday. It's going to be a little bit of a different feel, being at Rose Hill on a Tuesday with a Group 1 meeting, but like I said, at least it's going ahead.
Exactly. Had a couple of little showers on and off in Sydney the last couple of days, but the track's still about a heavy 9. We might get a slight improvement for tomorrow, Corey, because it's pretty windy outside. So, but we're in the heavy range for sure. This will be interesting to see which horses potentially back up on Saturday into day 1 of the championships, particularly out of the Tulloch Stakes, the 3-year-olds heading towards the Derby. And I dare say, Treasure, at the moment, there was some talk about her going to the Derby out of the Vinery stud. The fact there's only a 5-day turnaround now, I think she probably goes to the Oaks. Do you say?
I'd say so, yeah.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, well, hopefully the track won't be too wet tomorrow and those horses all pull up in good order and those backing up on day 1 of the championships will be fit and ready to go. We did have Group 1 racing at Flemington last Saturday. Let's start off with the Sprint Classic. This filly is very, very promising. She comes out of New Zealand. Her name is Alabama Lass. Her record now is 9 starts, 6 wins, 3 seconds. She makes her own luck on speed, Corey, and she's very, very fast.
She was fast and she was strong, Ray. She was there to be beaten. Obviously it favoured sort of on speed near the fence sort of all day, but I just loved her tenacity to win. She really pins the ears back. She's got a beautiful racing style. She's low, she gets the head right out. She's a nice horse.
And Craig Williams, who rode her, gave her a big rap post-race, so she might be a sprinter we see come on to bigger and better things. Her record's excellent. The Australian Cup, well, Pride of Jenny pulled up with, she lost a shoe, and apparently that's probably impacted how she's raced the course, but apparently she's okay, so whether we see her in the autumn remains to be seen, but can't take anything away from Light Infantry, man. Another Group 1 for Kieran Maher. His stable breaks the $50 million prize money barrier already for the season. It was just too strong.
Too strong. Another one, Ray, obviously got there quite soon with Pride of Jenny dropping off so early in the straight. I thought a Tissue had him on toast there at about the 300-metre mark, but she just sort of flattered on a run, died on a run. But all honours with the winner. He was too tough.
Yeah, Deny Knowledge fighting back for second. Zardozy runs a usual honest race third. And the Tissue, as you said, probably loomed up ready to win, couldn't quite get there. The other big one at Flemington on Saturday was the Roy Higgins. The winner of this race gets automatic entry into the Melbourne Cup. That's Deacon in the white cap about to loom up on the outside of the leader. Berkshire Breeze, the grey. I thought he had Deacon's measure here, but he's a tough stayer, Deacon.
Yeah, the body language on Mark Zara, I thought the same thing, Ray. I thought he's another one that had him and was going to get him quite easily, but Deacon dug deep and it was a nice win. It was just a real tradesman-like win, so deserves his spot in the Cup.
Whether he's a Melbourne Cup winner remains to be seen, but he's lightly raced, he's going through his grades, he's doing a good job and he can stay, Corey.
Yeah, he'll stay all day.
Exactly. Well, overnight in Hong Kong, the Everest favourite Ka Ying Rising made it 11 wins in a row. Corey, I want to run a couple of things past you. Watch Zach Purton carefully here. He eases down just inside the 200, yet Ka Ying Rising has gone 1 minute 8.18 for the 1200 and he's gone sub 22 his last 400. He's jogging.
He clocked off on him at about the 100-metre mark, and obviously a horse like that, being out in front like that, he's going to idle down somewhat underneath Zach. But mate, if Zach had rode him all the way to the line, which you wouldn't because he's already got him, on toast. But I would have loved to have seen the clock after if he had really given him a good squeeze at the line because I reckon he would have smashed the clock.
Yeah, well, right now he's the 250 favourite for the Everest. We'll get the latest Everest betting off Tim Ryan a little later in the show, but he's clearly the horse to beat, isn't he, Corey? Even this far out.
This far out, like he's We use the word freak quite a lot, where it probably shouldn't be used, but he is freakish. He's freakish with what he's doing.
Well, Corey, let's talk about tomorrow's meeting in a little more detail, and trainer Joe Pride has a number of big race chances at the postponed meeting. Joe, good evening.
Good evening.
Joe, thanks for joining us. Well, firstly, last Saturday, I guess, as we were talking earlier to Corey, the officials were damned if they do, damned if they don't, re-postponing the meeting. But what did it do in terms of your preparation for your horses, particularly Ceolwulf, going into the Neville Selwood Stakes tomorrow?
Yeah, look, it was. I mean, it was good that they made the decision, made a decision early, and gave us a few days so that we could get some more work into our horses, if that's what was required. It suited me to keep the meeting at Rosehill, and Tuesday seemed fine. Look, as it turned out, we didn't get enough rain that the meeting needed to be called off, but that was crystal ball stuff, so not worried about that. Very, very happy with my bloke going into Tuesday, and it's a minor disruption because he had raced 7 days earlier anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, Joey. If any, looking at Ceolwulf's, I know you didn't want to go the 1 week backup into the Queen Elizabeth, but that little extra 3 days probably helped Ceolwulf as far as his preparation goes.
Yeah, look, it just spaces out the two runs, this one and the Queen Elizabeth a bit, and sort of puts even a more even gap between them, which is absolutely fine. The idea of sort of running him 7 days out and not just running 7 days out, but running in a Doncaster, with top weight, it just looked like it could compromise his chance in that Queen Elizabeth, and the Queen Elizabeth is a race that we've always had in mind for him for this preparation. Preparation hasn't gone as planned so far. What I thought he might have banked the wins, but he hasn't been in the races I thought he was going to be in, or at least one of them that I thought he was going to be in. So look, it's been a minor little setback, cost us a little bit in terms of timing, but certainly on track now.
Well, talk about the George Ryder, Joe, because if there are any doubts about where Ceolwulf was at, he disproved them that day. It was a fantastic run, and going into the Neville Selwood and then the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, he is right back on track, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. He's a quality horse, as we all know, and he's a horse that we knew before this preparation doesn't get to his best until we get to a mile and beyond, and we finally have our first run this preparation at that kind of journey. Wet track's absolutely no problem for him. You saw him in the AJC Derby, a brave second there, and an unlucky second. So, on track, and look to tomorrow.
Joey, it must be really satisfying with a horse like Ceolwulf. Like, you've seen him early days, he was like a kid in a candy store. He was wanting to get everything over and done with, and he was bouncy in the enclosure, and he'd get behind the barriers, and he'd be just doing silly little things, but he just seems to have grown up. Like, even his manners in the enclosure, he's like the boy that's become a man. He parades really well. He just handles himself a lot better now. That must be satisfying for you.
Oh, definitely. Second preparation now as a gelding, and that's made a big difference. And just mentally and physically getting older and stronger. And the best of this horse is clearly yet to come. He still is a little bit immature. He's only a 4-year-old, and I can see the best of him 12, 18 months away, and it's an exciting prospect because he's already a very talented horse. But in the short term, just looking forward to not only tomorrow, but just getting him up against the best quality opposition in that Queen Elizabeth at 2,000 metres, and what will hopefully be a race with a bit of pressure.
Yeah, it's going to be some race, the Queen Elizabeth Stakes. Of course, Fierce is seen as the favourite, but Ceolwulf right in the mix. Of course, tomorrow you've got a couple other big race chances. Marzu gets a wet track. He's going to love it tomorrow, Joe.
Yeah, you sure will. Yeah, look, it was he's probably the most disappointing connections in my stable were Marzu's Saturday with him getting called off. But look, we had to wait a few extra days, but we've got still got a wet track. Hard to imagine that track's going to be anything better than a soft 7. So that's going to suit him, and he's had a couple of runs back now. Very fit, got a nice draw. Nash back on board. He'll be extremely hard to beat. Races really well at Rosehill as well.
He's one of those horses, Joey. He's sort of obviously a change of scenery going to your stable not that long ago, but he just seems to have a little bit of a new lease on life. He seems to be racing super this time round.
Yeah, he's just very consistent, and that's all we can ask from any horse. And with those sort of horses, it's always just a matter of just finding the right assignment for him. And he was down the straight, facing the breeze and a lightning first up on a day where it was very hard to do that. Came back to Sydney for a challenge again, only 1,000 metres, sat out deep. Finally drawn a good barrier here and got a soft track, and that's normally a couple of the ingredients that's required for him to do his best.
Where is Coal Crusher and Dragonstone at, Joe? They'll clash with Marzu in the Star Kingdom. I dare say Marzu's the number one stable seed?
Yeah, look, probably under the sort of circumstances we find ourselves in tomorrow. He's clashed with Coal Crusher a few times, and there's Coal Crusher's beaten him and vice versa. So there's not a lot between those two horses, but the setup tomorrow you would think would favour him. Coal Crusher's a very honest, genuine horse. Loves a wet track as well, and shouldn't be forgotten in that race, because he's once he gets that run under his belt, which he's had, he becomes very competitive and has raced right up at the top level. So Dragonstone, again, just an honest, genuine horse, never very far away. He'll really appreciate a wet track, a drop down from a Galaxy, and a reasonably quick turnaround for him is very much in his favour.
Joey, the stable, it's changed somewhat since I was riding for you, mate. Like years ago, you were great with those sort of older horses, change of scenery. Now you've got a lot of young horses coming through as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, I'd like to get a few more older horses as well. They're hard to they're hard to get. Like it's one of those things. They're not easy to purchase horses that are proven and going well, and there's a lot of options around for owners that want to change stables. So I'm not the only option in that way. I'd love to get some a horse like Eduardo. Like what an amazing experience to have a horse like him join the camp, and it's always they've always been a bit of a backbone of my stable, but we've been really working hard at bringing the next group of horses through, and that's meant spending plenty of time at yearling sales and buying up, spending some money on buying some quality young horses. So yeah, nice to have that blend there, but would never say no to a nice tried horse. So it's still one of my favourite things to rejuvenate a horse and get it going back to what it's capable of doing.
He's done a good job with them too.
Absolutely, time and time again. Yeah. What about a mare like Sounds of Heaven, Joe? I think she showed in the Epona that there's a big race in her very, very soon.
Yeah, she's a little bit tricky to place. She clearly wants a bit of to race over a little bit of ground, and at least at a mile anyway. So there wasn't a race for her next week, so we're looking at I'd say we'll run in the Queen of the Turf with her, and then get her back to sort of around that 2,000 metre mark. But she's a competitive mare at her best. Would love to get her on a bit of a soft track. She hasn't had one of them just yet this preparation, but when she does, I think it's when she'll find her best.
And Brigadier Gal ran in the same race. Sounds of Heaven was second, and I thought the filly was excellent running third. What are your plans with her going forward, Jay?
So she's nominated for the Carbine Club on Saturday, and she'll take her place in that race. And I just think bringing her back to a mile, we're going to see the best of her. I'm convinced she's a miler. She extended her speed out to the 1900 the other day. She was good at Kembla and the Keith Nolan before that. But I'm looking forward to seeing her Saturday, and I'll be making a gear change in her and putting sort of blinkers on her, and I think it'll sharpen her right up.
Yeah, two promising horses going forward. Joe, look, I wanted to ask you about a filly that won at Wyong the other day. And I know it's a big step up when we're talking about stakes races, but I thought Weeping Woman's Win was really impressive. She zipped around Wyong and just bounced off that turn and dashed away, won with ease. What are your plans with her?
Yeah, she's just having a little let up at the moment, but only a few weeks off, and she'll be back. And I like that style of horse. They really need to be rock hard and fit to do their best. And she was racing very consistently, but she just took a few runs to get to a peak. And then Nash got on her over the 1350 of the day, and she was explosive. Very promising young mare, still only lightly raced. Plenty of quality about her, and looking forward to a winter preparation with her and what's to come over the next sort of 12 to 18 months as well. She's very speedy, but she's also just a mare. We're just getting to her peak now.
Oh, that's what I was about to say, Joey. What I liked about her win there at Wyong, yeah, she's speedy, but she actually come right back underneath Nash there at about the 500-600, and then when he released the break, she's got a great turn of foot, but she's not a one-trick pony.
No, not at all. Got a bit of quality. And when you look at her too, She's exceptional physical athlete, physical type. Just a big, broad chest on her. A mare that's taken a bit of time. She's 4 years old. She's only just getting to a physical peak now. But it was a textbook ride from Nash the other day. But they can only do that when they've got the horse underneath them. And what you saw from her was no fluke. It was a city race, although it was at Wyong, and she's going to go on with it. I'm quite confident of that.
And just one final one, Joe. Where's the old stable stalwart Private Eye at?
Yeah, Private Eye back in work now and enjoying his time. It was a strange start to the carnival not having him around because he's part of the furnishing at my place just good to have him back in work. He'll be most likely have a run in Brisbane on his way to a spring campaign. But love to see him back in the stable and going real. Looks fantastic. Very happy with him.
He just keeps turning up, that horse. He's fantastic. Look, Joe, I appreciate you coming on this week, next week. Good luck tomorrow with Ceolwulf and the other big race chances at Rosehill, and particularly right through the championships. Can't wait for that Queen Elizabeth Stakes. It'll be the highlight of the season.
Great. Thanks very much, guys.
There's Joe Pride, and won't that be a race and a half?
Can't wait.
And
Cannot
be a
wait.
sustainer.
Shaping up to be one of the best races ever.
Exactly, yeah. Saturday, of course, it's Derby Doncaster Day, and last year, we saw a great Derby finish. Riff Rocket won. The horse who ran second's pretty good. His name, Ceolwulf.
Riff Rocket slicing through the pack. He's got the run now, good enough. Glad you think so, a dominant leader at the 250, but Riff Rocket's eating up the ground, and here's Ceolwulf. Ceolwulf wide out, coming with a big run. Riff Rocket through the middle. Ceolwulf wide out. It's Riff Rocket and Ceolwulf in a great Derby finish. Riff Rocket, Ceolwulf, nothing in this. Riff Rocket just in front, clings on. Riff Rocket beat Ceolwulf.
Ray Thomas sits down with a living legend and racing trailblazer.
I got my number 1 licence and walked out the door, and all I want to do was get out and train horses.
Gay, an audience with the First Lady, 8:30 Tuesday.
Welcome back to the show. Big night of programming on Sky Thoroughbred Central tomorrow night. Of course, the Tancred Stakes meeting live, and then at 6:45pm, the Road to Championships will include a live Doncaster and Derby barrier draw with the latest markets from Tim Ryan, and then at 8:30pm will be that interview with Gai Waterhouse, all on Channel 528. Let's get the very latest betting for tomorrow's Tancred Stakes meeting and throwing forward to day 1 of the championships. Tim Ryan's in the studio. Tim, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ray. Big day tomorrow and a big week ahead. Just quickly, if you did have a final field bet for Saturday, though, all that money was refunded Saturday morning, so you'll need to bet again. But if you did have a futures bet, your bet still stands for the Tancred and the Vinery and any other all-in race there for tomorrow. Let's have a look at the Tancred, though, and Dubai Honour. I'm inclined to risk him just a touch, just for the fact he hasn't had a recent run on the heavy track there tomorrow. He's just out a bit, 360 out to 380, albeit he is the best backed runner. Four-band, a small firm there, 460 into 440. Duke de Sessa looks to be well suited by heavy. He's a little bit easy, though, 460 out to 5, and Arapaho quite popular as a $6 chance. Warmonger, best backed at longer odds, $14. Treasure the moment, she's the best backed runner at Rosehill tomorrow. Rock solid as a $1.60 chance. I can't lay moving out or to Clichy Boulevard. Benadryl, a little bit popular there at 11. Verona Rose, second best backed runner in the race, has an $11 chance. Acceptances for the 4 championship races will be taken at 6 o'clock tomorrow. So these markets will stay open until after the Rosehill meeting. But at this stage, wide open in the Doncaster. Linebacker best back, only has to carry the 49 kilos. He looks like he'll run fave, $6 chance. Gringotts, another wheel, and the Canadian mare Moira, next best back there, 8, 8 and 11. Moving on to the TJ Smith, and we lost Private Harry this morning. He's gone for a spell, so the new favourite here is Jolly Star is at $3.50 chance. Briasa, best back, $4.50 there, and Sunshine in Paris, I think she's the forgotten mare. She sits there as a $4.50 chance. To the Derby, we have equal faves in the Derby, $3.50 each of 2. The Kiwi form versus the Australian form. Will he do it? 3 times more popular than Aliana, but I have a slight leaning towards the filly, so I'm keeping them as equal picks. Chanois is popular there also as a $6 chance off the back of a big win in Melbourne last time out. The Country Championships final on Saturday, and Gallant Star off the back of the big win at Coonamble is the $3.50 favourite. Know Thyself also quite popular with the big win there at Scone in that wild card. So Country Championship betting, it'll be open until Wednesday, final field for the Country Championships. Moving on to the second day of the championships, and Via Sistina, your 170 favourite still. Ceolwulf, a $6 chance we get to see him tomorrow. He's $1.55 at this stage at Rose Hill. A firm on Saturday for Light Infantryman off that Australian Cup win, 26 into $15. The Oaks, treasure of the moment, 230. She looks like she'll head in that direction. Like a Lucy, a decision to be made whether she runs. She's a $4.50 chance. Aliana, $6. Probably a little bit doubtful with her, more likely to head towards the Derby. We'll know more about the Australian Oaks on Saturday with the running of the Adrian Knox at Randwick as well. Al Cairns, your $4.50 favourite for the Sydney Cup. We'll likely see her on Saturday in the Chairman's. She's favourite there. Vauban doubtful as an $8 chance. Deacon was in that market. We took him out. He's gone for a spell to focus on the Melbourne Cup. Next market we're going to have a look at here is the Tab Everest. And Kaying Rising was a $1.05 chance last night. So we haven't changed his price. We expected him to win. He's a $2.50 chance. Private Harry, first horse in the Tab Everest. He's your $6 second pick.
Which horse are you taking on this weekend, Tim?
Well, I said I'd take on Treasure of the Moment last week on the show, so I'll stick with her, albeit I'm weakening. There is a lot of support for her, and she looks like she'll get a pretty soft run in front, but maybe the heavy track might just bring her undone, and she's very, very short.
Yeah, into $1.60 for the binary stud stake. Just a quick one, Corey, with James McDonald going overseas to ride the Hong Kong champ Romantic Warrior in Dubai. A couple of important Group 1 replacement rides tomorrow. On moving out, Zach Lloyd picks up the ride, and that's in the binary stud stakes. And in the Tancred Stakes, River of Stars will now be ridden by Blake Shin.
Right place, right time, Ray.
Exactly.
Then pick up rides. I'd love to see the percentage of pick up rides that actually win, because I'm pretty sure it's a big percentage.
Do you have much luck in your career picking
up rides? Not in Group 1 races. Well, actually, I picked up the ride on Apache Cat, so there you go.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, of course, plenty happening this week, particularly Rose Hill Gardens tomorrow. The postponed meeting from last Saturday's Tancred Stakes and Binary Stud Stakes Day. We're also racing at Newcastle, and don't forget the Championships barrier draw for the Derby and Doncaster live on Sky Thoroughbred Central at 6:45pm tomorrow night. We're racing at Warwick Farm on Wednesday, along with some Newcastle barrier trials. Thursday is Wyong. Now, that wildcard race that was scheduled for Wyong last Saturday has been added to Thursday's meeting. So last chance stakes for those horses trying to get into the Provincial Midway Championships final. On Friday, we're at Grafton in the Sapphire Coast and Rose Hill barrier trials. And then on Saturday to Royal Randwick for day 1 of the Championships. Hawkesbury is the provincial meeting. On Sunday, the Gundagai Cup is the feature, and also racing at Armidale. 2 magnificent race days coming up, Corey, tomorrow at Rose Hill, and of course day 1 of the champs at Randwick on Saturday. Which horse would you like to be riding this week,
Well,
Corey?
Timmy's sticking solid, so I'm sticking solid too. Treasure of the moment for me.
Okay, looks hard to beat, doesn't she, in the binary start? I think pre-barrier draw for the Doncaster, I thought Firestorm, I think it's about $18, would be a great each-way chance in the feature Randwick Mile on Saturday. On behalf of Corey Brown and I, good luck tomorrow on Tancred Stakes Day. Enjoy the week and look forward to day 1 of the Championships on Saturday. And we'll see you again on This Week, next Monday night.